So guys, this is my smartphone, the OnePlus 6T, and I've been using it ever since it came out 2 years ago, and it's time for a long-term review of this device. So I was initially using the 6T with a couple of cool cases, which I've already covered in a separate video, and then I switched to a dBrand skin. The dBrand skin was purchased from the dBrand site and shipped from the US within a week, which is pretty neat. The skin itself has been pretty cool to flaunt, and most of my friends have been curious, asking me what back panel I'm currently using on the device. The look and feel of the device has been great without a case, but I really thought it would lead to a big improvement in the grip of my glassback's phone, and really being the case. The 6T with its glossy side bezels has been the king of slip. I like the display on the 6T, and even though it has a teardrop notch, using some amazing AMOLED wallpapers works wonders at vanishing the notch. The display felt pretty resilient and survived a lot of waist-high drops, but eventually gave in when I dropped it knee-height onto a concrete slab. Luckily, the display cracked without hampering any touch functionality, and on most days it's fairly easy to forget about it. The downsides of this notch trickle down to the inbuilt earpiece, which gets dusty, and then it's mission impossible to pick up phone calls without using an earphone. Another element which hasn't been so good on my unit is the alert slider, and while it did work alright initially, it just hasn't worked and felt consistently helpful. I did show it to OnePlus, but the guys did not have a very convincing solution. So OnePlus 6 led the OnePlus camera revolution for the company, and it is after the OnePlus 6 that OnePlus started to be recognized as a manufacturer making smartphones with a good camera. But the OnePlus 6T did not embark forward on that mission, and initially the camera did feel usable to be, but only after taking north of 5,000 to 6,000 photos did the flaws of the OnePlus 6T start hurting me that much more. I have a detailed camera review on the 6T, which I'll leave a card to, so be sure to check that out. So OnePlus has a distinctive color pop to its photos, and when you just point the viewfinder to an object, there is a 1-second delay after which the color pop kicks in. Using a Google camera mod has helped me take slightly more natural looking photos, but since Google Cam is not an official release for OnePlus devices, it has its share of bugs and is not perfectly usable for everyday scenarios. I feel the focusing system of the OnePlus 6T and OnePlus devices which I've used in general has been on the lower side of the spectrum, and it's often inconsistent at focusing both in photos and in videos. The OnePlus camera app itself is slightly buggy, and whenever I try to swipe open from the home screen, the touch shutter button often does not work. I have also taken a lot of 4K videos at 30 frames per second, and they do come out to be okay, but the stabilization is not the best. I've been using a Type-C SSD to directly transfer photos and videos from the OnePlus 6T to my computer, and that is when I realized the downside of not having a USB 3.1 and UFS 3 storage on board. And this is something that it did improve with the OnePlus 7 series, and that's a good thing. I happened to try out the Pixel 3a, and that is when I realized that a lot was missing with the OnePlus camera. So the 6T is nearly 2 years old now, but it's still fairly snappy at everything that I do with it on a daily basis. And that's thanks to the Snapdragon 845. The 6T plays every game at the highest refresh rate without breaking a sweat. I've currently been playing Call of Duty, and the OnePlus has been offering a great gaming experience. While I was buying this device, I felt getting the 8GB variant would have been an overkill, but I hate to report that when I was running on less than 4GB of internal storage, the phone was considerably slow at the simplest of tasks like loading my media library. So the Oxygen OS on this OnePlus device is fast, and it has everything that you need in addition to the stock Android experience. I personally liked Oxygen OS a lot, but I haven't even bothered to check what version of Android I am on. I'm on Android 10 right now. Oxygen OS as a whole only seems to have had minor under the hood improvements and a few changes to the look and style. But otherwise, Oxygen OS has always had the features that Android 10 has brought in. So I did not notice much of a difference even after the update. The OS does have its minor hiccups, and when you try replying to a text on the fly, it never gets delivered unless you tap onto the chat. And this honestly beats the whole purpose of wanting to reply right from your notification bar. This is something which has bugged me on a couple of occasions, and I tried putting it in the OnePlus community, but the bug has still not been squashed. So the OnePlus 6T has genuinely surprised me on the battery front, and it still manages to get me throughout a packed day ever since I got it. And that's really good because most smartphones start losing their battery capacity after 500 odd cycles. And this OnePlus 60 has also been charged at least once a day. I've been using this OnePlus 60 daily for nearly 2 years now, and still the battery performance is still about 80 to 90% of the original experience, which is really good in my opinion. I personally love Dash Charge, and it has to be hands down one of the best features OnePlus started introducing in their phones. This is one feature that OnePlus has constantly been working to improve. Honestly, a lot of the shortcomings that I eventually faced with the OnePlus 60, like the slow UFS storage, not having a stereo speaker, etc., were ironed out when OnePlus released the OnePlus 7 series. And the OnePlus 7 also came at a significantly lower price than the OnePlus 60. And this is something that hurt me as a OnePlus fan. So OnePlus has been making some really solid phones out there, and a lot of my college friends seem to be in love with their OnePlus devices. But I dare say all of us got it at a fairly reasonable price. OnePlus has currently been pricing its phones too high in my opinion, but I believe we all got a great package at a fairly good price. The Android smartphone market right now is all about an aggressive competition to launch a phone with the best specs at the lowest price. And OnePlus seems to have strayed away from this mission of giving a killer phone at a killer price. Sure, OnePlus is making feature-packed phones, and the OnePlus 8 that they just launched is no exception. But I strongly feel the steep rise in pricing that OnePlus has been doing will take away a lot of potential customers away from this company. So do I like my OnePlus 60? So I do love my OnePlus 60, but unless OnePlus takes some concrete steps to improve on the camera front, I don't think I'm going for a OnePlus the next time.